As information overload and ad clutter have grown, advertising has increasingly focused on visual rather than verbal communication for primary message elements. Visuals attract attention and get messages across faster than words. Visuals also have lots of stimulus properties that are usually not easily conveyed through paragraphs of text. Things like color, contrast, size, novelty, expectedness versus incongruity, and symmetry. For example, color can provide emotional reactions based on biology. Red can equal danger, or on culture, where red could mean Republican or red could mean communist. The high contrast of McDonald's sign is seen from far away. Low contrast of black on gray lettering would not attract much attention on a web page. Size can also affect our behavior. For example, we tend to eat more, 1, when the food container is larger, 2, when our plate still contains food because we were given a larger serving, or 3, when we see a larger assortment of foods, such as at a buffet. Directions influence where we look and our perception. We focus on height rather than width when pouring liquid into a glass. Novel or new stimuli attract more attention than familiar stimuli, but familiar stimuli tend to be better liked. Incongruous or unexpected stimuli attract more attention and are often found to be funnier, but are also more disturbing than expected stimuli, which we find more comfortable, but may see as boring. Finally, symmetrical objects and visual arrangements are preferred and easier to process than asymmetry. Visuals communicate to audiences not wanting to hear or read ads. Most consumers experience information overload due to the vast quantities of information to which they're exposed each day. Society, in general, has been becoming more picture and less print-oriented. The development of social media has contributed to reinforce this trend. Unlike stimulus properties, which look at individual aspects of a visual, Gestalt Psychology looks at the visual as a whole and believes that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Gestalt Psychology is based on theories of visual perception, and it has found wide application in design, including social media design. Gestalt Psychology had its beginnings in the early 20th century with German psychologists such as Max Wertheimer and Kurt Kafka and Wolfgang Kohler, who found that our behavior is more influenced by how we perceive reality than it is by actual reality. So Gestalt Psychology studies how visual stimuli are organized and how that affects our perceptions. According to the Gestalt Psychology law of closure, people prefer whole and complete forms, so our minds tend to fill in or automatically complete spaces that separate different elements to complete the image. In the black and white image here, we perceive 2 triangles when actually not even one triangle is fully drawn. In the World Wildlife Federation logo, we also see the use of closure. Even though the panda is incomplete, we perceive the animal by completing the closures of the white spaces. The law of symmetry holds that when elements in a visual display share similar colors, shapes, sizes, orientation, or any other property, then they will be seen as connected. If an element is different from the rest, then it will stand out. On this web page, the similarity of the aligned boxes for each product gives the layout a seamless look, even though the products are all different. In the Nescafe ad, the elements on most lines share an orientation and are seen as a long group of Z's. But the elements on the last line stand out, even though they're the same size and shape as the orientation changes. According to the law of proximity, elements close to one another are perceived as a single entity and are separated from more distant elements. Our mind sorts the black and white dots into 3 groups based on their proximity. In this tweet for Coca-Cola, we perceive a smile from the group of bottles that are placed in proximity. The figure ground organizing principle in Gestalt states that people distinguish between what they perceive as the primary element, the figure, and the secondary elements, the ground. Stimulus properties such as color or contrast can aid in perception of the figure from the ground. Figure ground perception is the first visual perceptual skill we develop as young babies. The law of continuity describes our eyes' search for continuous forms and their efforts to follow smooth paths. Thus, we tend to interpret disjointed visual elements as connected rather than disconnected. With the IBM logo, our eyes follow the outlines of the shapes to see whole letters, not just different sized bars. It also allows us to continue seeing something that is blocked or obscured as our eyes continue to scan for the rest of the familiar word or shape, like in this Marlboro example. Visuals can serve a variety of functions. Marketing visuals such as a logo, trade character, distinctive packaging, or symbol are excellent memory anchors. Anchors help memories form associative networks. Research has shown that visual memory is stronger than verbal memory or auditory memory. Thus, a visual serves as a better anchor for most consumers than even a brand name. This slide shows one person's associative network for Nike running shoes. These are all things that come to mind when you mention Nike running shoes to this consumer. Things that come to mind may be positive or negative, they may be true or false, they may be personal associations, such as this consumer wore her first pair of Nikes to her 10th grade gym class, or associations learned from marketing communication, such as digital marketing or social media marketing. Has someone ever told you about someone you've never met? You may build an associative network about this person. Now, it's much easier to access and add to this network of associations if you have a readily accessible anchor. For example, a name, such as a brand name, or an image, such as you've seen this person or product. So if someone tells me about their friend Doris, and I've never met Doris, but I do have her name as an anchor, well, when that person tells me something, I access that associative network and use that information to help me interpret the new information. Now, it'd be harder to retrieve the previously learned information about Doris without something to serve as that memory anchor, because all those bits of information that I learned would be loose and unassociated in my brain. Another function of visuals is that they attract and maintain attention and interest by presenting mesmerizing or pleasing or novel images or image sequences. Remember the stimulus properties and Gestalt psychology principles about what makes an image attention-getting or interesting. When viewing an advertisement, eye tracking data has found that people first look at the picture, then the headline, and then decide whether or not they wish to process any of the body copy, that is, the text of the ad. As you can see from this heat map showing how long subjects' eyes spent on each part of this website, the top line received considerable attention, but the visual of the man's face received the most total attention. A visual can help set the mood. Playful images set a fun mood. Grave images set a somber mood. Images have more visceral power than words in eliciting and changing people's moods. That's why news websites usually prefer stories with emotionally striking visuals, whether positive for the human interest stories, such as ducks walking through the lobby of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, or negative, a bomb shown exploding in a war zone. If the news lacks good emotion-arousing videos, they sometimes choose not to run a story no matter how important. A visual creates believability through realistic portrayals of the product and what it does. Seeing is believing to many consumers. You can show things with visuals, and many people will believe what they see. The Facebook site Women Direct posts images showing actual female motion picture directors to help consumers realize that women play the role of important directors of film as well. In journalism, software manipulation of visual images is greatly debated. In marketing, it's not often debated. For decades, images have routinely been airbrushed or digitally manipulated to get products to look more attractive. Think about the pictures on the fast food menu versus what the food you actually are served tends to look like. Nevertheless, photos on the menu seem believable. Many consumers base their purchase decisions on these photos rather than the written descriptions of menu items. With deepfakes and social media filters, it's becoming increasingly easy to create believable images that do not depict actual reality. Here, Carly Allman, the editor of Beauty Heaven, shows how someone's face can be changed using apps and airbrushing techniques. A survey found that despite 2/3 of female respondents thinking it's wrong for magazines to edit pictures, over half, 57%, admitted to regularly editing their own social media pictures to enhance their appearance. As many as 1 in 5 admitted that they had tinkered with their profile pictures so much, it really wasn't an accurate representative of what they look like in person. This helps explain why a common first date story involves at least one half looking nothing like the picture in their online app profile. Visuals can also be used to demonstrate or show how something works or is done. For demonstrations to work in internet advertising or social media posts, it's important to have a product feature that can be shown. For example, colas cannot show taste, so cola companies use other visual images to set positive mood, such as young people having fun, celebrities, happy children, etc., rather than focusing a lot on the taste in their digital marketing efforts. Visuals can help establish a product personality, like KFC uses Colonel Sanders. Since Colonel Sanders' death, KFC has used old footage of him, animated him, and even hired actors to play him to maintain the product personality that he brought to KFC. Another great example is Tony the Tiger for Frosted Flakes. Visuals can associate the product with certain symbols or lifestyles. Visuals educate consumers as to the product use situations and settings. An article in the Journal of Advertising looked at coffee ads and where people were shown drinking coffee in ads. Here's the result. Where was coffee shown being consumed in ads? Home kitchens, restaurants, camping, or vacation trips. Interestingly, coffee was not shown in these ads being consumed in the office, even though that's the #1 place that coffee is actually consumed in America. Why didn't coffee ads show coffee being consumed in the office? Because most people don't choose the brand that is used at the office. They drink whatever is available. So the ads showed consumers choosing a particular brand for their lifestyle. Visuals can help us overcome time and distance. Visuals can take you wherever it may be. Visuals can make inaccessible processes accessible to the audience. We can't see a nasal spray relieving sinuses, so Dristan will show us a drawing of how it works in their marketing material. Visuals can also help make real an abstract concept or historical trend that is hard for people to understand, like artificial intelligence or an internal process in a product, such as a car's catalytic converter.